Hello, hello, this is Pattyjo. Such a nice day. I'm not using my broken ring light. I'm using normal. I don't know if that's better. I'm getting a whole bunch of comments, so I'm going to take a quick peek. Just a quick one. It's funny, but it's not for one that we've done so far, so I'm going to hold off. The whole soft sit mess didn't come about until he was in jail. I've said that. I totally agree. He in all the times he's been arrested in his goblin stomp across every state he's ever been in, doing whatever he wants because he doesn't think he has to follow anything, not because he's sovereign, but because he just is entitled and narcissistic. I don't know exactly where it came from. I've heard it came from his mother, acquaintance of his mother, a boyfriend of his mother, something, and he got it from somewhere, or in the jail or something like that. Even my son has when he hears me talk about these videos, he's I think it lends credibility to him because of his situation at that time. Some say jailhouse lawyer, which is my opinion. If you're in jail and peddling that nonsense, then it's obvious it doesn't work. It's true. It's true. And some say it came from Mama Don's boyfriend, which I've heard that too. I've watched videos of true sob-sits, yes, who honestly believe the garbaggio that they are. Let's do this a little bit so you can see. Not sure if that's pleasant or not, but okay. Some of these people are so far down the rabbit hole, there's no coming back. Darrell's not just a newbie, he's a mess. He's a hot mess. I'm gonna go one step further. Okay, I'm gonna go. Let's see where we left off. Let's see, because I know they're gonna do another way.
Calls Ralph Salyers.
All right, sir, if you would please make your way to the witness stand. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's on my left, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat.
They really run these guys through the ringer.
The first thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Ralph Salyers III, R-A-L-P-H. Last is S-A-L-Y-E-R-S.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Sir, how are you employed?
The city of WAUKESHA Police Department.
What county is that in?
It's in Milwaukee.
Not Waukesha.
Correct.
Do you recall where you were on the afternoon of November 21st, 2021?
Yes, I was at the Waukesha Christmas Parade.
In downtown Waukesha?
Yes.
What were you doing there?
I was attending the parade with my family. My daughters were walking in the parade with their dance team.
Were you on duty?
No.
That was not the extreme dance team, was it?
No, it was Liberty Dance.
Okay. Did you watch them go down the parade route and perform?
Yes.
Do you remember where you were standing when that happened?
Yes, I was standing on the southeast corner of Maple and Main.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Curry Insurance Building?
No.
Okay. Do you remember any other businesses or landmarks in that area?
The corner where we were standing, there's a parking lot right there. It's like one of the only parking lots in the area.
Did you leave the parade at some point?
Yes, once my daughter's the team passed by, we went to...
Oh, it's going to do that little flippy thing. I think it might be my computer that does that. Uh-oh, it's doing it too long. No, appear to be connected. Okay, I think I've got it going. Let's check.
Cutler Park in relation to where you were observing the parade.
would be about a block south and a block east.
Okay. Are there any public landmarks in that area other than the park itself?
The library's right there.
The WAUKESHA library?
Yes.
What happened after you got to the WAUKESHA library?
We picked
Okay, so where my computer skipped a little bit, basically what he says is he is observing his daughters are not with the extreme dance team, but with a different dance team, which this parade is big. There's a lot of groups in this parade. So they come through, finish, and he is apparently leaving with them to go wherever it is that he parked.
two girls up, and we were intending to go back and finish the parade, but it was a little cold and windy, and we decided to head home.
At home.
So what happened next?
We were walking back. I had driven separately. I came later to the parade to surprise them, so I had driven separately, and we walked back to the middle school parking lot where my wife had parked. My wife and her mother-in-law and my youngest daughter left with her, and then my older daughter and I continued to walk toward my vehicle.
What happened as you were walking towards your vehicle?
As we were walking south down Maple, on the east side of the sidewalk, I saw an SUV driving behind the houses on the west side of Maple, and I just assumed it was driving in a alley or a driveway. As I lost visual of the SUV, was driving behind houses, I heard a crash, which I'm familiar with vehicle crashes. It sounded like a vehicle crash. The vehicle then emerged a little bit further south from behind one of the residences there and drove down the driveway of that residence toward the street, toward my daughter and I.
And then what happened?
I saw that the front end of the SUV was severely damaged, and put two and two together, thought the damage was from the crash I had just heard. So the vehicle came eastbound down the driveway toward the sidewalk. I was standing across the street from it, and then it came to a stop. I saw the driver of the vehicle exit the vehicle. He came around to the front of the vehicle, looked at it, and yelled, "Fuck," and appeared to be panicked, went back and got items out of the driver's side of the vehicle, and then ran southbound.
All right. That's a lot of information. So let me piecemeal it for myself and see what you think as well. Okay, so he and his daughter and his wife and his other kids and whoever he went to the parade with, they came separately, parked in two separate places. The wife parked at the middle school, he parked somewhere else. And so he drops off one group to go home with his wife, and he's walking with his daughter. They're the second group. He's walking to his car. So totally gentlemanly thing to do. Make sure that the other car gets off and safe, and he then walks to his car. You know, it's just some of the family dynamics here just, make me warm my heart, because I never was able to find that in my life. But okay, moving on. So as he's walking, he hears something. He sees the car go behind the houses. Now, in a lot of cities, and even smaller cities, alleys are built between two sets of houses are backed into each other for trash collection. It may have been in earlier times for whatever type of vehicle before cars. Maybe they built the alley in later because the houses didn't have driveways or garages or anything like that, and they built them in the back and built an alley so that then they could have a place for their cars and so forth. So he drives between in one of those types of alleys, pulls towards Maple, gets out of the red SUV, this is Darrell, and looks at the front of it, yells an expletive, the F word at it, which, I guess if you have a damage like that, that would be an appropriate response. Then if he really didn't mean to do it, if it really was not intentional, why is he trying to hide it? Because he's panicking, grabbing stuff from it, and getting ready to run away. And we know then he tries to change his appearance, and tries to again run away from the scene of his last crime, or in this case, his last complete set of crimes, which I consider each one of those independent crimes, which is where he, where he cannot argue that it was not intentional. Because once you commit the first crime, the second crime, it is an independent crime. You knew about it. Now he's trying to get away. That's what I'm hearing. Tell me what you're hearing.
The vehicle that you're talking about, do you remember what color it was?
It was a maroon Ford Escape.
What direction was the front of the vehicle facing when it came to a stop?
It was facing east.
And where were you in relation to the vehicle and the street?
I was directly across the street from it on the sidewalk.
Were there any vehicles between you and the red SUV that you've described when you saw the driver get out?
No.
Were there any other obstructions between you and the vehicle as you saw the driver get out?
No.
Do you remember approximately how long, in seconds or minutes, you saw the driver as he was getting out and then leaving?
It was just a few seconds. If I had to guess, 10 to 20.
Okay. And you've already said it was across the street. Do you remember approximately how many feet it would have been between you and the driver?
Objection, speculative.
Overruled. You may answer.
If I had to guess, maybe 50 feet at most from one side of the street to the other, plus the length of the vehicle.
I love how men and women are so totally different. They're spatial, so he's estimating 50 feet. So what I'm seeing is he's on one side of the road. Darrell pulls the car onto sort of a driveway, possibly, or even landed between two houses on the other side of the road. So we've got sidewalk. Sidewalks are actually marked. You didn't know that, did you? So when they say you have to stop 15 feet, or you can't park 15 feet from a stop sign, each one of those sidewalk blocks are 5 feet. It's 3 blocks, 3 of those blocks. Okay, so men are smart. When they build these infrastructures, they're not dumb. They're smart about it, so that they can estimate. So they're also approximately, a lot of times, unless they're really old, about 5 feet wide. So you've got that kind of spatial sort of that you can keep blocking across. So you've got at least 10 feet just there. If there's cars able to park on either side of the road, that's another certain number of feet. It's 2 lanes, that's another certain number of feet. And that's how he's estimating. This is not rocket science. This is true men being smart when they build infrastructures and design infrastructures, and officers knowing those infrastructures and being able to estimate. It may be off a little bit, but we're talking within a small number of feet.
Could you describe the lighting conditions at that time in terms of sunlight and street lamps, if there were any?
Objection,
Yeah, it was-
relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
It was pre-dusk, I would describe it as.
How would you describe the physical appearance of the driver
What he was wearing?
and any other physical descriptors?
Well, he just looked to be kind of in a panic. Obviously, I just thought he was involved in a crash. And he was wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt and blue jeans.
What about race?
I would
Objection.
describe.
Speculative.
Overruled. He may answer.
I would have described him as a light-skinned African-American or possibly Hispanic male.
And you, in fact, you you gave a statement to a fellow officer shortly after this happened, the next day, is that right?
Yes.
And that's the description you gave to that officer?
Yes.
You've seen news reports about this case in the days or the time since November 21st. Is that right?
Yes.
And you've seen photographs of Darrell Brooks in other contexts. Is that correct?
Objection. I do not consent to being called that name, nor do I know that individual and his
Interruption.
Go ahead, you may answer the question.
No
speculative.
objection.
It's not speculative.
Clearly.
Yes.
The person you saw get out of the driver's seat of that SUV on November 21st, do you see that person in the courtroom today?
The
Yes.
objection is hearsay. How he's speaking as a first eye-hand witness.
Because he was one?
Overruled.
What? Oh my god. How can he say he was a eye-hand witness? Is that what he said? Eye-hand witness? First-hand witness. He was one. He saw you. Darrell, everybody saw you. Darrell, everybody saw you. Everybody saw you. Darrell. Oh. Oh my god.
I believe he answered, but could you state it again?
Yes, I see him. He's sitting at the defense table wearing a suit with a blue tie and a white surgical mask.
And just to be thorough, could we please have Mr. Brooks remove his mask for a moment?
Please. Mr. Brooks, please remove your mask.
And he won't look up. Oh, there he goes. He looks up.
The record should reflect the mask.
Did you see that mean mug? Oh my god. Mean mug. You make yourself look ugly.
How confident are you in your identification today?
100%.
Is your identification in court today colored in any way by seeing pictures of Mr. Brooks in other contexts?
Objection. Speculative.
Overruled. He may answer.
No.
Can you describe?
You cannot speculate on your own memory. You can remember your own memory.
Describe the difference, if any, between Mr. Brooks' appearance today and his appearance on November 21st?
Objection. Hearsay and speculative.
Hearsay. And speculative. I can't even imagine how he's the mental gymnastics it would take to even apply those definitions to this question. Look at he's like, I gotta do this. I gotta spend my time on this. Ridiculous. And I didn't know there were, I guess there were groups who got out of this scot-free. I guess the people who would do the color guard in the front with the flags and so forth, they got through the parade before Darrell actually joined in uninvited, stomping through like a goblin, unsupervised as usual.
It's neither one of those things. The objection is overruled. The witness may answer.
Objection is irrelevant.
It is relevant. He may answer.
Not if he identified me already, so he said.
Mr. Brooks, please. The objection's been overruled. The witness may answer.
He's got very short hair right now, and he didn't then.
What did his hair look like on November 21st?
Objection.
Overruled. You may answer.
Relevancy.
What?
Go ahead. You may answer, sir.
He had longer hair.
I'm going to ask that we put up for the witness only exhibit number 65, please.
Go ahead.
Do you see a video on the screen in front of you?
Yes.
We're going to play a few moments from that video just to give you a chance to see if you recognize what's shown. Okay, that's good. We played 7 seconds out of the total of 36 seconds out of this. But you recognize that video?
Yes.
What does it show?
It shows me walking southbound on the east side sidewalk of Maple, just south of, I think that's Prospect, walking my dog Elvis and walking with my oldest daughter Ava.
Is that an accurate depiction of that scene as you saw it that day?
Objection.
Overruled.
Move exhibit.
Yes.
Thank you.
He can't stop laughing. He laughed. He laughed. I saw him laugh. It's trying not to. It's hard. I had one time when I had many times in my life when I completely inappropriately laughed at things. One of which was a total setup. And I do have to say, I may have had to hold back some inappropriate response when I tell this story, but it wasn't because of what you think or what was obvious. Okay, so sometimes we're called to detention or to some of the jails where they're holding, or the holding cells where they're holding people, because they complain, I'm hurt, or you hurt me, or whatever, and the paramedics would be called to go over there. It usually wasn't with an engine crew at all, unless they're complaining of trouble breathing or chest pain from running away from the cops, which is generally what it was. So we were called to one of the littler places where there was like 2 or 3 holding cells on the west side of the city. We go over there, we go inside, and there was just this weird energy with the officers. And they bring out a gentleman who is, the behavior is your typical yelling and screaming and not fair and you shouldn't have arrested me and let me go and all this other stuff. Except he was of very short stature. So as he's coming around yelling and screaming and running at the same time, I'm looking at the officers, I'm looking at his behavior, and it's a complete eye roll. And of course he thinks I'm laughing at him because of his short stature, his extremely short stature, which I'm short, so he was shorter than me. And that wasn't the problem. The problem was his behavior. So I can completely identify with trying to hold in an inappropriate response that would be appropriate because it's just funny.
Move exhibit 65 into evidence and ask to publish.
Exhibit 65 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
This is 36 seconds. Let's play it through one time at 100% speed, please. We can go ahead.
Okay.
Back to the beginning, and pause it at the beginning there. Do you see yourself at the beginning of this video?
Yes.
Could you circle your...
All right, so what I see, if you guys have not seen this video before, and I think I have seen this one, he's going to identify these two as himself and his daughter. You'll see this car here is the one that comes down, and he pulls into this little entryway here, which is the alleyway or a driveway between these houses. It's almost like a common driveway or an alley. It would be considered an alley, I guess. And he comes out, I'm thinking around here. But let's see if I'm right.
Yourself for us? That's a touch screen. Just use your finger.
I want this guy's camera off.
Thank you. We can clear that. You're the only person walking a dog in this video, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's play, and we'll pause at another point.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. These blocks are 5 feet, and they look like blocks that are a certain number of feet this way too, and I think that's probably 4 feet. So that's how people estimate. They know how wide this is. They know how many feet it would take for somebody to park and still have 2 lanes. So there's one parking lane. This is maybe a second parking lane, and this is maybe 4 to 5 feet, 4 to 5 feet. So he's got, and then whatever he thinks is, between there and the actual vehicle. This is not rocket science. This is actual math in a man's head, and appreciated and really admired.
Pause there at 4 seconds. You mentioned Prospect. Could you draw a line down Prospect for us? Okay, so that's the only cross street we can see clearly in the video. Correct?
Yes.
And do you see any vehicles on Prospect at this point?
See 2.
Could you circle the one with...
Clearly more than 2 vehicles.
On Prospect.
I'll
was the question.
clarify.
No, you said on Prospect. He answered. His answer might stand.
Where's Prospect? Where are you referring?
He already drew a line.
Yeah, so you
The
missed
witness would
Darrell.
redraw the line for Mr. Brooks. Thank you. Go ahead.
Do either of those vehicles have, appearing to you today, to have an inoperable headlight?
Yes.
Which one? If you could circle it, please.
Furthest
Objection
one.
leading.
It's not leading. He may answer.
Thank you. We can clear that. And we'll resume at 4 seconds, please. Pause.
There he is.
Paused at 27 seconds.
See him right here.
Do you see on the video right now the person you recall being the driver of that vehicle?
Yes.
Could you please circle that person for us? I'd like to...
I know I've seen the sentencing remarks and things like that. Susan Opper was right. He was running away like a little chicken.
mark and preserve this annotation as Exhibit 65A, please, and move it into evidence.
Objection. Hearsay.
The objection is overruled. Exhibit 65A is received. Go ahead.
Yes, please. The clothing worn by the person you just circled, does that match your memory of what the driver was wearing that day?
Yes.
Okay. And let's play from this point. 27 seconds. And we'll stop there. From the 27-second point to the end of the video, the person who you circled, does that match your memory of what the driver did that day after he got out of the SUV?
Yes.
What did you do next?
I attempted to call 911 to report a crash.
If we could take the video down, please. Did you get through on the first call?
No.
What about the second?
No.
No, he's not getting through because he left the parade before Darrell came through that area, I'm thinking.
Third?
So he doesn't know.
Did you eventually get through?
Fourth time.
Objection. Hearsay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer. The objection is overruled. Could you please restate your answer, sir?
I believe I got through on the fourth attempt.
And that's when you reported what you saw?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions on cross-exam for this witness?
Darrell is going to have a really hard time discrediting this eyewitness testimony because it's backed up with an independent camera that was not his.
Witness.
I do. Can we pull that exhibit back up again
I do.
and publish?
5 will be shown. Go ahead.
And publish.
I do. Let's pull up the exhibit with all the proof on it. which is nothing any real attorney would probably do.
Granted. Permission granted to publish. It's been received.
Ill-fitting suit. I feel bad.
Let me know, jurors, when 65 is in the jury box. It's up. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, right as this pause right now, it's not playing. It's at 0. Would it be fair to say that to the, I guess that would be my right of the screen, you can see a white-looking SUV by the walkway where people would be able to cross the street? Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that the side street that you lined as being Prospect, I think you said it was, where the 2 do not enter signs are, that would be the side street you're referring to? Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that from the position that you're in, approximately here,
Exactly.
and the side street being here,
And just so the record is clear, Mr. Brooks has annotated the touch screen with a line depicting the direction of Prospect, intersecting with the street, the perpendicular street. I apologize, I don't remember the name, and then an X where
Prospect, you said?
Prospect is the street in the direction of the line, but there's a cross street there.
Okay.
But the X is indicating where this witness, his dog, and his daughter are in the video. Go ahead.
So from where you're positioned right here by the X, you can see down this street from the position you're in.
No.
He didn't say that.
So how were you able to see if a vehicle would be coming from this way from the position you're at?
Let me tell you how. Because like I said before, this is built as a common alleyway, almost a common driveway for services for the city. Say trash pickup, they probably put their trash back there. They probably, instead of on the street so that it doesn't clog up traffic on those days. They, if those houses were built prior to cars being used or cars being regularly used, that alleyway would have been an easement made to those properties so that they could have a place to put a car and or park and or a almost a common driveway. It was very common in cities that were built prior to when cars were commonly used for transportation, that is how it was done, and for those alleys to be used for services for the city. So he never said he could see behind him and around the corner. Which Al asked was, as you see this video, do you see a car that's got a headlight out? And he circled the car with the headlight out. Never said he saw it when he was walking there. Now, how could he see it behind these houses? Because as Darrell turns behind the houses, he is here, and behind the houses you can see and hear probably between Darrell's car driving. Let's see if I'm at all right.
I didn't see the vehicle driving on Prospect. I saw it driving behind the houses through the yards.
So you were able to see the vehicle.
I'm a fortune teller. I saw it in my coffee. Damn. No, it's obvious, Darrell. That's the thing that's obvious.
Behind houses.
Between houses, behind
You said
houses.
behind. You said behind.
Right,
Yes.
through the yards behind the houses.
Through
And
your
you were able to see that from where you were.
Yes.
Can we take those marked lines and stuff down?
That didn't cast any doubt. You stupid goblin.
Can you play it a little bit? I'll tell you when to pause.
I'll tell you when to pose. I'm in control here.
You just confirm you want it full speed.
Yeah, I guess that would be regular, whatever is the regular speed.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Would it be fair to say from?
Do you want to pause?
No, not yet. Just you can let it play. I'll say. I think it's 36 seconds. So, would it be fair to say from?
Well, hold on. The video's showing, so wait till it's done playing and then ask a question. Or have us pause where you want it paused.
Pause. So it's paused at 18 seconds for the record. Would it be fair to say that in the 18 seconds shown to this point, you're pretty much just walking the dog, moving around, just walking normal? You don't make any sudden moves to the left to look, or you don't stop in your tracks or anything. You're just walking along. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And you also made reference to hearing a crash. What point did you hear the crash?
Sometime while the vehicle was driving behind the houses.
Why didn't you immediately stop in your tracks and say you just heard something? Why do you just
Is he trying to say this guy did something wrong?
keep moving as if you heard anything? Nothing.
I just turned my head to see if I could see anything, and I didn't see anything.
And so you just kept moving.
Correct.
So basically it was just like, oh, do, walking the dog.
Yes.
But what if Darrell was hurt? You know, the most important person in the whole widest world? He might have been hurt. You didn't stop and run over there and leave your dog and your daughter alone on the street? Well, but he could have been hurt, and it's Darrell. It's Darrell. They can't see me. I don't exist. I'm not Darrell. Damn. Idiot.
Can you play?
Oh my God, you got.
Pause it.
Pause it.
Would it be fair to say that another roughly 8 seconds to play, from 18 seconds to 26 seconds, still you didn't stop in your tracks, still you didn't turn to look at the other side of the street in any manner? You're continuing doing what you're doing. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Before he even gets to the nonsense that he's trying to imply, which is this guy as an officer, as a first responder, should have come and immediately rendered aid to Darrell's dumbass. Let me promise you that there are certain circumstances as a paramedic, I am not allowed to render care as a paramedic unless I am on duty someplace and being, supervised by a certain set of protocols that are initiated by a medical director. Now, I do have a medical director at this point in my career. I mean, when I was working at the fire department, it was very obvious. When I was working, I was on duty, and the medical director is the certain doctor. I actually have the same medical director, but I don't do direct patient care anymore. So I am not, as a paramedic, I do not have a duty to act. Okay. But as a citizen, and I can render some aid, to whatever I have available to me. Like I would stop and do CPR on somebody. If I see a crash and there are at least police there, I am going to continue, because that's already been, the people who are on duty have already been called. Unless I see something total, that somebody needs something before those other people arrive, that the police officers as first aid people can't accommodate, I'm going to keep going. If I am there and an accident occurs and nobody's there yet, I'm going to pull over to the side of the road. I'm going to call from my car. I may or may not get out of the car. And then I'm going, when the first set of apparatus, I'll let them question me, and then I'm going to leave. I'm not going to stay in the way. He's not on duty at this time. He was just a spectator at the parade. So he has no duty to run back and leave his daughter or take his daughter with him, which is even a worse idea, to see what's going on. He calls 911. Really? That's all that could be possibly expected.
Why so nonchalant?
Because
When the vehicle emerged from the back of the house, I saw that it was damaged, and then in my mind, I knew what I had heard.
With all respect, that wasn't the question. Why so nonchalant at that point?
I didn't think
That's
it was
argumentative.
anything of great emergency at that point. I just figured that an intoxicated driver may have just struck another vehicle in the back of that alley, and now he was going to take off and run.
And being in law enforcement, why would you not investigate that if you heard something crash? Why, being an officer of the law, why would you not investigate that if you heard that?
I was with my daughter, and I would in no way put her in harm's way.
if he did that and called for the local police whose jurisdiction that is, and had his daughter there, they would probably not think very highly of his decision based on the fact that he brought his daughter into a situation he wasn't aware completely of was going on.
I would think it would be fair to say that you
But Darrell
can't
thinks
handle
different.
yourself. You're obviously a law.
In the universe of goblins,
Officer of the law, you're trained to be able to handle yourself. Would it be fair to say that you could have at least investigated
No.
the sound that you heard, that sound like a crash, at least?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained. It's also a compound question. Please rephrase.
So all these thoughts, maybe it was just a drunk driver and they're gonna run anyway, and
yeah,
all these thoughts, and that never piqued your interest to
No.
investigate?
nope.
Sometimes being a good witness is the best thing to do. That's why I called 911 to
And that's
report it
what I'm saying.
immediately.
I
Now,
don't
that-
all the
that's
time
fair,
observe
but-
myself.
Being an officer of the law, you're right there.
No,
Again,
Objection. That's not a question. Also asked and answered. Also argumentative.
Sustained as to the form of the
All
question.
What-
You don't need to answer, sir. Next question, please.
What if someone may have been hurt at that point?
then
You
the
don't
people.
think you would have an obligation?
No, he doesn't have an obligation. The people on duty that he is calling have an obligation. He does not have an obligation. Moral obligation as a citizen to call? Maybe. But even that, some people, if you see $1 on the ground and you see people around, do you pick up the dollar and start handing it and seeing who it is? Do you pick up the dollar and put it in your pocket? Some people say you leave the dollar there because I have nothing to do with that dollar. It's not mine. And I shouldn't get involved with the dollar. Very different ethical viewpoints.
To investigate if someone may have been injured at that point?
that's why I called 911.
Thank you.
Can you play the rest of the video?
We sure can. Go ahead.
It did a weird little motion thing. That's probably from the camera. I would guess. But in that entire video, is it fair to say that you did not reach for a phone and take out a phone from your pockets or anything in any way? That be fair to say?
I can't tell if I did from the video itself. I know.
So
that I
when did you make the call?
At some point after you started running,
Who was you?
the defendant.
Who is you? Who is you? That is one of Darrell Brooks' iconic attorney moments. This is going to be a class, I'm sure, in Harvard Law where they take Darrell Brooks' theories of law, teach them as never do this. Who is you? Who is you? Makes no sense. Darrell, you. He's looking at you. He
The driver of the
identified you.
vehicle.
So how long after you saw the driver of the vehicle
You.
did you make the 911 call?
Within seconds, I believe.
Within seconds.
Is it fair to say that we don't see that on the video?
The video is very small at that point. It's hard to
Is
Yes,
it fair
it's
to
fair
say
to
we
say.
don't
We
see
don't see
you
it on
do
the
that on
video.
the video?
yes.
Can we pull the video back up? Can you take it to 27 seconds and pause at 27? Can you, maybe 28. I may be mistaken. Maybe just go one more second. Maybe to 28. Or you know what? No. Keep it paused right there. Would it be fair to say that you noticed the vehicle in this area right there?
Yes.
Can you remove the X?
To be absolutely fair, he's right. Look how small that is. Could you see somebody pulling out a phone? Or even these days, you don't even have to pull out your phone. All you gotta do is talk. You have to think about something and ads come up on your phone. It's creepy. So, yeah, he is directly across the street. Darrell, you're not helping yourself. You're not casting doubt at all. Just
And-
confirming what it said.
What do you see right there?
You.
I don't understand.
Do you see anything right there? An individual, anything? Do you see anything right there?
It's
Inside
hard to
the
tell
circle?
from that picture what I can see.
Can you move it? Can we blow it up a little bit or move it closer? Just a little bit.
I don't know that it can be zoomed in. Does that the
Can it-
state
can
have
it be
that
zoomed in?
capability?
So we can zoom in, as long as the defendant's okay with dispensing with any technological foundation issues there. But we can zoom in. We have the ability to do that.
Would you like it zoomed in?
What do you mean by not? Say that again. I'm sorry.
We can zoom in if you want to.
Can you zoom in just a little bit? Just a smidgen.
Look at it.
That's the extent of our zooming capabilities with this
No,
software.
that's fine. That's fine.
So is he saying this?
Can you see anything there?
It looks like something white. I don't know if that's the driver.
Looks like something white.
Could be part of the house.
Yes.
Could
It's
be
light
part
colored.
of-
White color what?
It's light colored.
Light color. But you did say white. Is that fair to say that you just said white?
Oh my god.
I just did say white.
That doesn't
Can
discredit
you erase
anything.
the circle? Zoom back out. Take the. It's like a box there in the corner that's kind of throwing the whole exhibit off. Take it back to the regular.
Regular.
You testified earlier that you saw the driver with gray hoodie, as you referred to it. Do you recall saying that?
Yes.
What I just circled right there, would you, from your recollection, say that that was the driver you saw?
I don't know what that is at this point.
You don't-
It's
you
just
don't
a
know?
paused video. It could be a glare. It could be a person. I don't know. If you could play it again.
Well, let's play it again. Stop right there.
Stop right
Yeah,
there.
from the 27 mark. I think it just played maybe a second, half a second or something like that. Did you see that whatever you said you didn't know what it was, could have been a person, could have been something else? Did you see it move from the position that it was before?
Yes.
And you also identified that that was white, right? That's what you said, correct?
I did say that.
And would it be fair to say that you saw the driver in gray? Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Take the circle off. You also stated that you were about 50 feet from the Well, you added the vehicle in too. You said maybe 50 feet, and then depending on the length of the vehicle, would that be fair to say?
Yes.
From the vehicle. God, the thug thing just is so infuriating and frustrating to
And
listen to.
from where you are here to here, because it would be fair to say we can't see a vehicle in the picture at that point. Would that be fair to say we can't see a vehicle that would be facing you because you said it was facing you? We can't see a vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
From this angle of vehicles obstructed, yes.
So that would be 50 feet from, approximately 50 feet from X to X.
Approximately.
And you were able to see the driver and a description from where you're standing now to where the other X is.
Yes.
And you were able to make out the race of the driver from where you were at.
I guessed.
You
on the
guessed.
race.
So you're not
guessed the
for
race.
certain.
I wasn't for certain at that time.
So what conclusion were you coming to at that point? Just an educated guess, or
Can you explain further?
how
Conclusion for what?
would it be fair to say that your guess could have been inaccurate?
Could have been.
I don't think he's right on that. I don't think his guess is inaccurate. It's possible that his descriptors may not have been perfect. Heather gray, which is the color of the sweatshirt, is not a dark gray. It's a heather gray. It's considered a heather gray. Is a very light color, and in some angles, situations, the way people see color can be very different. I had a partner at work who was completely colorblind. Um, and I often wonder what he saw as opposed to what I saw, because I'm totally not colorblind.
And you also stated that you saw news reports and a description of the driver on the news. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And you made reference to the driver's hair. Would that be fair to say?
In my testimony, yes.
You brought up the hair is what I'm saying. You said long hair. That be fair to say?
It
Yes.
was asked.
And you will be able to see hair if you describe the driver wearing a hoodie.
Yes.
You'll be able to see hair and tell the length of the hair.
If it's hanging out of the hoodie, yes.
Well, you didn't say, all fairness, you didn't say it was hanging out of the hoodie.
Wasn't asked. You goblin.
You just referred to the hair.
God, he's
Yes.
so trying to
Argumentative.
twist
Is
the
it-
semantics.
Hold on, there's been an objection. I believe the witness understood the question, so I'll overrule the objection. His answer may stand. Next question.
Is it any possible way you could have gotten a description from the news reports instead of what you actually recall?
No.
And how did you determine that?
In court,
Because I have a brain.
I gave in my statement, I described what I saw that day, not what I saw in the news.
And you also described
I have a brain.
two different colors of dress. Once you said gray and one you said white. Would that be fair to say?
I said that the item in the video appeared to be white.
Did you not say that the item moved? As you say item, did you not say the item moved from where it was at?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that there can be no movement to an item if it wasn't a person?
We can also say that his vantage point from Darrell and the camera, which is houses away. So 100 feet back is completely different.
Yes.
A person that you described wearing white.
On the video screen, it appeared white.
He's right. On the video, it does
It
appear
appeared
white.
light colored or white.
Would it be fair to say that you said white? That was your first?
Yes.
Okay, how many times are you going to ask and answer this one? Bully.
At any time in that video, could you see hair
Here.
In the video,
No.
in the video?
you can't see very much in the
You
video.
can't see his head.
No.
Only cross is going to be how far away the camera is.
After making the 911 call, did you return back to the scene where you noticed the vehicle?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
And did you investigate at that point?
Yes.
So what changed from the point that you heard a crash, as you say,
As you say.
and then returning back to where you saw the vehicle? What changed between those times?
As I was talking to the 911 dispatcher, I wanted to give them better details about the vehicle, so I walked back over to.
So at the time that you initially made the 911 call, there were still details about what you saw that you were unsure of. Would that be fair to say?
I believe they asked me what the license plate was, and I couldn't see it from where I was at, so I walked back over to give that to them.
So you couldn't see the license plates of the vehicle from where you were at.
What's a license place? What's a license place, Darrell? There's no such thing as a...
There was no license plate on the front of the vehicle, so I could not see it.
Right, you had to go to the back.
So you came back to investigate if there was a license plates that you can identify.
License
Yes.
plates, yeah.
Did you
Or
investigate
license plate.
what you may have heard the vehicle strike?
No.
Any reason why not?
By that time, a large crowd had gathered, and there were sirens. I could hear them in the distance, and the police were responding rather quickly.
So you didn't take the opportunity to see if anyone from saying that you heard a loud crash, you didn't take the opportunity to investigate if anyone may have been hurt?
You ran away from the car, Darrell. You goblin thug. You ran away from the car. You didn't investigate to see if you hit somebody in that alley when it made the crashing sound, which I think we later find out was some wood that people were decorating their house with, or probably putting up blockades so some thug goblin can't drive through after they whatted people in the parade. Oh my God. Darrell, why do you hold people to a standard you don't hold yourself to? He asks Erica, don't you think you should have told the truth? Well, don't you think you should tell the truth?
No,
That loud crash?
I didn't know.
Any reason why not?
No reason.
He doesn't have to have a reason.
Any other details about the driver that you can recall? As far as further clothing?
No, I thought at some point I saw a Packers logo on his clothing or something to that effect.
Did you put that in your report?
Yes.
At any time, have you read or saw a complaint in this matter?
No, just my report.
Any other officers that came to the scene? Because you made reference to officers was responding by the time you came back to give more details to the district.
What? I know this hand says 100%. What does this say? because there's not enough knuckles for it to say stupid. So, I mean, what could he possibly have put there?
Dispatcher, more officers were arriving. Do you recall if any one of those officers investigated the loud crash you heard?
I'm unaware.
How would he know?
But it would be fair to say that they gave reports from what they observed
How
when
would
coming
he
to
know
the
that
scene.
either?
Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Do you recall any of them asking you of a description of what you saw?
I didn't speak to any officers on scene that day.
Any reason why not?
I just left.
Seeing as how that
left.
you made the initial 911 call, I'm sure the officers were probably responding by that time anyway, but seeing as how you made the 911 call, you didn't collaborate with the other officers to try to,
No.
like piece together what you may have saw?
Okay, he's objecting. I will tell you this. Just because a person makes a 911 call, if they drive away, they drive away. Okay? Even as we would respond to those calls and would have questions and dispatch would call them back, they would say, I'm no longer in the area. And that would be it. There's no obligation to stay in the area for which you've called 911.
The characterization that was the first 911 call.
I didn't say first. I said he made the initial 911 call.
Initial means first. So
Initial
sustained
means
is the form of the question.
Good catch, watch out.
Besides, well, let me back up. After seeing the description on the news, did you say to yourself, that's the driver that I saw?
I recognized the driver as the person I saw on TV or social media. Yes.
Social media or the news?
I don't recall, probably both.
Both. Did you report that?
When I gave my statement, that's what I told them. Yes.
And did you report that description before or after you saw it on the news or social media or both?
I gave a statement the very next morning. I worked at 6 a.m. I reported it to my supervisor, who contacted WAUKESHA investigators and had one of our detectives take a statement from me that morning.
Which goes right back to what I said about things that happen when you're in civil service, not being a civil servant, because we're not servants, we're in civil service. You are bound to be a good citizen. As a good citizen, you are to report when you are a witness of something, or if you get a ticket for something, or if you're accused of something. You have to go and tell your supervisor. The supervisor is then going to decide how the reporting is done.
The statement that I gave them was from my experience at the scene, not from what I saw on TV or social media.
So it would be fair to say by that next morning you had already seen reports on the news or social media?
Yeah.
Or
yes.
both?
Yes.
Oh, he had, okay. What?
And your report was the next morning, so could it have been
Influence?
fair to say that that's where you got the description?
Nope.
No.
Thank you. I had a call with police for an 18-year-old. Oh my gosh, it's so terrible. The story is very terrible. And I had a young girl who was one of the apprentices with the fire department. In other words, they take high school kids and they train them through, and she was just 18 and graduated from high school. So she was just you know, getting her job with the fire department, and I was doing some training. She was learning her IV tech, so she was there with me. Any patients who needed an IV, I would help her learn to do that. And this particular young man who had just turned 18 really thought he was thug, king thug of the, I don't know, the whole wide block or something. I don't know. But I don't think what he didn't realize is he was just a child. Okay, so he had apparently some juvenile issues. Now he's 18. The police had chased him for some crime, probably something petty at that point. And we were taking him to the hospital because many times when there's a chase, they get taken to the hospital. During that ride, he was very inappropriate with my partner who I was trying to teach IVs to. He didn't need an IV. You know, he was mad, like, why aren't we going yet? I'm like, you know, when we're on a call like that and there's not really a medical emergency, we do wait for the police. We go to the hospital. We try to go to the hospital that the police prefer. Usually it's the one closest to wherever they're stationed, and we'll call the MDO and do that. And that was the situation that day. But he was being very inappropriate with this young lady. You know, I basically told her if she felt uncomfortable at all that she could go sit in the front seat, that, you know, she didn't have to listen to his mouth. 2 days later, a body cam video was released in that same area, and I don't normally watch that from the area where I worked because, you know, that's a little bit, and it's blurry because they're running, but as the kid turns around and pulls the weapon out, the pew out, I looked at it in the blurry picture and I could tell it was the same young man. And I think we know where this goes. That was it. And that was 2 days after my encounter with him. I definitely was able to could have identified him independently, and I was able to see it in a blurry video cam still. And you know, that's what people don't understand, is your memory of those things are very clear. I clearly remember that. He was probably pretty smart to get his daughter out there.
Did you learn any additional information that you don't recall having via social media or the news after you had already made your report?
I don't understand the question.
Did you learn any additional information after you had already
That's
given
the
your
same
report?
question.
Learn information about what?
About the description of the
If you just repeat the same question, it's still the same stupid question.
driver, what had happened at the parade, anything.
Well, originally I had no idea what had happened at the parade. I thought it was just, I witnessed a hit and run crash. I had no clue what had happened at the parade.
So you just said now you witnessed a hit and run crash, but you also said that you didn't investigate the crash that you heard.
Correct.
So how would you characterize it as a hit and run crash
Because you
if you
heard
never
the
investigated
hit
what you
and then
heard?
you ran.
Well, because I heard a crash and then the driver ran.
I'm sorry, but Darrell's so stupid. Why would you highlight that? That does not cast doubt. That just like solidifies the whole thing. Oh my god.
Well, you also stated
Look at his dumb ear. Look at that hanging out. And his horns. And his liar lines. Oh my god.
to be fair that you didn't investigate the crash. So how was it any way to
Help
know
me be a little bit more
what you were
appropriate. I
witnessing
can't.
if you didn't investigate it?
Because I heard a crash and I saw the driver run.
That's a hit and
So in
run.
my mind, I assumed that was a hit and run crash.
So it was an assumption, you didn't know.
Yes, I heard a crash. I didn't see the crash.
Correct. So
Correct.
would it be fair to say that from the assumption that there was a hit and run crash, as you say, the only way to know for sure where the crash came from would be to investigate it? Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
And you stated for the record that you did not do that, correct?
yes.
So why would you report it as a hit and run crash if you were not sure what it was?
With his
Well,
experience.
based on my training experience as a crash investigator, that's what I thought it was.
I must have crystal ball in my coffee cup. Because, ugh. They're laughing at him. Which I can't even hold it in.
Did you talk to any of the people that lived in those houses to see if they had heard the same thing you heard?
I spoke to maybe a resident of the apartment or the house right there who just said that the vehicle didn't belong there.
Did they report to you that they heard any crash?
No, not that I recall.
Did they report to you that they saw a driver?
No.
So as far as you can recall, you were the only one that heard the crash.
As far as I know, yes.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
Please, thank you. You testified that you didn't investigate the sound of this crash, correct?
Yes.
Were you off duty that day?
Yes.
When you're off duty, do you carry a police radio with you?
Objection. That is irrelevant. It's an officer of the law.
Overruled. He may answer.
It's not irrelevant.
No.
So if you did get into a pickle, you wouldn't be able to call for backup, would you?
Objection. That's speculative. Still has a cell phone.
It's not speculative. He may answer the question.
A cell phone is not a safety device for EMS, fire, or police. Your radio is. When I was assaulted, we had just gotten lapel mics as EMS. And our lapel mics were not as fancy as the fire lapel mics that had an emergency button on them. Our emergency button was only on the radio. So when he knocked the radio off of my hip and my radio is swinging from the lapel mic, the question from the chief when they were trying to blame me for the whole thing is, why didn't I press the button on the lapel mic? And the answer is because they didn't spend the $10,000, just $10,000 to get emergency buttons for the EMS providers. They wanted to save, they got $100,000 worth of new equipment and saved $10,000, or it was less than, it was like $8,000, so that they wouldn't have to get those for the EMS providers because they didn't think we needed them. They didn't think we were in danger. Okay. But I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I am angry and bitter. But bottom line, your radio is a safety device. So if you don't have one, you're not
Correct.
Your daughter, the one that we saw in Exhibit 65, I believe. 65. Is she a sworn law enforcement officer?
Objection, irrelevant.
Overruled. You may answer.
No.
At the time you heard the crash but didn't investigate it, did you know that the vehicle that you saw had been involved in hitting dozens of people on Main Street minutes earlier?
Objection, asked during cross, answered.
Overruled. He may answer.
I had no idea.
When the driver got out, and just to clarify again, who was the driver?
The defendant,
Darrell Brooks?
Darrell Brooks.
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name, and
Mr. Brooks, I'm sorry.
I don't consent to being called that name.
Oh, Mr. Brooks, I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Yay. Yay. Good job. Oh my God. Between the two of them, I think they called him that 3 times.
So noted. Next question, please.
Did you see anybody else get out of the vehicle?
No.
When you went back to check the vehicle, was there anybody inside?
No.
On this issue of the white clothing, can we please show for everybody exhibit number 120, which has previously been published?
Go ahead.
You see exhibit number 120 on the screen in front of you?
Yes.
So that's a Heather Gray. If we were going to stop it from this angle, it clearly is Darrell Brooks' goblin face with his big troll head. Oh my God. How can he? And it's not tinted. That is not a tinted window, and it's up. It didn't even matter if it was up or down. So between the first part where people are trying to stop him, and this is after the band, I think, so he had hit people by this point, and where he opens the window towards after the grannies group is struck, that's somewhere in there is where he lowers this. I think that was a comment by someone who was very, very observant. Okay, let's hear what the question is.
You see the person who appears to be behind the driver's wheel of the red SUV in that picture?
Objection, what is the relevancy?
Overruled. He may answer.
Yes.
How would you describe the color of the shirt that that person's wearing?
Light color.
Light gray or white?
That's all I have for this witness.
All right. Thank you. You may step down.
I wonder why I didn't pull up the picture to see like the angle of the camera being so far away from where that is, but I think they did enough. I don't think Darrell, look at his stupid face. Oh my God, he thinks he did something.
May this witness be excused from this appeal?
Somebody
may.
tell him in his little elfie ear here that he didn't do
All right. I am going to excuse the jurors and actually take a recess. It's a little bit later, but we'll take our late morning break at this point, about 15 minutes or so. All rise for the jury, please.
One of the comments, ooh, look at his stupid face. So one of the comments mentioned that this mask hides when he gets angry, that he flares his nostrils and breathes real hard, and that's true. I should watch that. It was a very good observation.
All right. We are in recess. Please be back
Who's
in
trying to
15
hear?
minutes.
Okay. All right. Seems like a good time for a break. Thank you for joining. Like, subscribe, and comment, please. The comments are epic. I love them. And see you next time. This is Patty Jo.